Hello friends, Nayaswami Hriman here, and once again it's time to ask a yogi. Okay, I have an inquiry here from someone called Monica in India, and she writes that I recently started on my spiritual journey and connecting inwardly with myself. I'm trying to look into myself, see what I feel, forgive myself, take care of myself, stand up and speak for myself through meditation. But suddenly I'm feeling lonely and alone on this journey. I feel like I'm looking for some greater love and acceptance which humans cannot give. Am I on the right path? I feel that I am, but I feel like I'm starting alone up a hill or mountain. What changes can I make to make my journey more fulfilling? That is a great question. Well, when we start in on the spiritual path, we do in a way turn our back on our old habits and in many cases some of our old friends too. And I think it's appropriate that there be a sense of being alone. It's not the final statement, because who are we anyway? We are children of God. We are part of this great creation. Why should we think we're anything separate? Nonetheless, I think the experience of feeling alone is necessary. What comes to my mind is when two people get divorced, there's two choices for a lot of them. Either they rebound into a new relationship, all too often like the old one, or they really set up shop for themselves and try to learn to live on their own and establish good habits and self-reliance and that kind of thing, and self-discovery. In any case, divorce or not, in this case, it's a spiritual divorce from my material life or my ego persona. And so I think it's necessary and valuable that there be a time where we feel like we're on our own. But that's where two things are useful. I'm trying to remember what I said. Two things are useful. One is devotion, seeking the companionship of the only true companion out of whom we've been created and who is always with us. And then the other is like unto the first, which is to seek communion, to seek fellowship with others who of like mind. I mean, each person is unique, but to hang out, as we say nowadays, to have fellowship with people who are seeking spiritually in a way like yourself. Generally, if possible, that should be people who share your spiritual practices, beliefs, and so on. That's not always practical, but nowadays with the internet, there's all sorts of ways to have connection, fellowship, satsang, as we say in the yoga tradition, satsang with others of like mind, virtually or in person. The deeper one, because some people really are alone in many ways, or maybe they don't even have the internet, I don't know, in which case they're not going to hear my voice. But the deepest ways to make friends with a friend of friends. That can be in any number of infinity of forms. God has no form, God has no name, but for most of us, having a name and form is a lot easier. One's guru or deity, or a quality, a divine quality. Maybe it's peace or unconditional love or inner joy. So that's the deepest answer. But for most people starting on the path, we haven't really made that acquaintanceship quite yet. And so we need the outer. We're so used to external influences and external friends and circumstances that initially probably the most practical step for the average person is to find that outer support in a way that aligns with your spiritual goals, aligns with your spiritual practices and beliefs and so on. So there's nothing wrong with feeling a certain amount of aloneness when we, especially in the beginning. And in many ways, until the divine companion really becomes vibrant and dynamic, it just is the way it actually is. Even in spiritual community I've lived most of my life, one still feels a certain aloneness, because the more we live by and with others who live by their own souls, the more our existential uniqueness comes into play and is expressed, and we find ourselves honoring that within ourselves, but honoring that in other people. And so it continues, but on another octave. And then finally, as we approach the light, as we approach the more advanced stages, our inner companion will also sometimes test us. Christian mystics use the term the consolations of God, which is the feeling of the divine presence. All great saints who have achieved the end game of the end goal of communion with God speak of the dark night, speak of the absence of the divine consolations to which they had become accustomed on their journey, because that becomes, in a sense, the final test. I think of Buddha, I think of, any number of saints who crossed the threshold of the inner darkness and had to embrace that darkness with complete faith. They were prepared for it because they had, through their lives of awakening, the consolations of the companionship of spirit, God, Guru, etc. But at some point they had to let that go as well. So there's nothing wrong with that sense of being, yes, in the world, but not of the world. It's something we, even in the beginning, that relatively light aspect of the dark night also has to be faced, and it's a good thing. All right. Blessings to all.